Hello, everyone. Happy New Year and welcome. Welcome to this week's edition of Ask Coach Marie. I'm Marie O'Neill, founder of Padma Life Coaching and your host on this series. This is the place where you ask a question and I give you my unique opinion as a life renewal coach, astrologer, and past life regression facilitator. Please know that I am not a therapist and I will never tell you what you must do. Each week on Friday, a new video is released with me answering two questions from the viewers. I'll also talk about various other topics, such as consciousness, astrology, basically how the universe works, and life renewal topics. Let's go ahead and get going with the first question for the year. Our first question comes from Tina, who is in Occidental, California. Tina writes, I've heard that everything we do and think is stored someplace. Can you talk about this? Yes. Thanks, Tina, for that question. And what a question to have at the beginning of the year. In answer to your question, you're correct. Everything that we think, everything that we do, everything that we have done is stored. Where it's stored is called the Akashic Records. It's also called the Hall of Records. So you could hear it, you could hear both terms used for this area. Now, where the Hall of Records is, that's a good question. It's, of course, not in our reality, not in our dimension. It's in another reality, another dimension, so to speak. And you do access the Hall of Records all the time, whether you know it or not. If you are having a memory about anything that happened in your past, well, it's not quite stored in your brain. It's stored in the Hall of Records, and you're accessing it. If you want to know the solution to a problem or, how to work through something, you can go to the Hall of Records to, get the solution. I am not familiar with all of the different rooms in the Hall of Records. I've seen them, or I've seen certain parts of it. When my experience is, there's been several experiences with the Hall of Records that I can tell you about. One is on one of my visits, there was somebody there who was the keeper of the Hall of Records. They were the one who actually escorted me to an area where I needed to gather information. I want to say that you're not always allowed to actually go to the Hall of Records in a meditation. Like I said, there's a person, or maybe even a group of people, I don't know, but I've not seen a group of people. I've only seen one person who is there, and they're the keeper. And so they're the ones who actually allow you in or not. My understanding or my feeling is that you're not denied going to the Hall of Records. You're just limited as to the parts that you can see or the parts that you have access to. When I've gone to the Hall of Records, I've actually seen them in several ways, and I don't know why this is. This has just been my experience. I've actually seen the Hall of Records, the facade as it's the same facade that we see on the New York Museum of Art. It's that ancient Greek facade with the big the big pillars, and I've walked up the stairs and walked in. There was another occasion when I saw it as a pyramid, and I entered through the top of it. I suspect that there's a lot of other areas in the Hall of Records that we as humans don't have access to. That's what I suspect. But they do exist, and you can certainly do a meditation and see if you are able to go to the Hall of Records. It's not a place that you want to go just for fun. You want to do it because you have a question, or you want to learn about it. You can always talk to your spirit guides about it and ask them to take you to the Hall of Records, or help you to see the Hall of Records, and they will help you with that when the timing is right. Timing is everything. And when I say timing, I'm actually referring to your level of consciousness. And that has a huge bearing on whether or not you will be able to actually go to the Hall of Records. Have you developed enough to be able to actually deal with the information that you see? I do remember a meditation that I did once where I was handed a book, and it was my book. It was my record of everything that I've done in all of my incarnations here on the earth plane. I have no idea about incarnations elsewhere and, what those records look like. But mine was in a black bound book, and it was quite thick, by the way, which I interpreted that to mean that it was okay for me to go to the Hall of Records to look at my records. That's how I interpreted that. I also, years ago, did a meditation with a client. It was a past life regression session that I was doing with her. And she ended up at the Hall of Records. And for her, she saw a room with a lot of scrolls in it. And she went over to one of the shelves and picked off one of the scrolls and went to a table and opened it. And there was information on the scroll. It was quite amazing. So I have no idea if the Hall of Records shows up differently for each person or not. I have no idea. But I do know that it does exist. I hope that answers your question. Now, our topic for today are soul groups. Yes, soul groups. Each of us is a part of a particular soul group. And a soul group has come together for various reasons, but one of the reasons is to help each other develop. And so we incarnate over and over and over again together. Sometimes, you have, group, a part of the soul group that goes before the other members, because you've got to have grandparents and great grandparents and that sort of thing. But we do have soul groups that we incarnate with. And there are times when we're born into a soul group that is not our soul group. And a lot of times you can tell because you just don't fit. I have had that experience. It's not a nice experience, but you are doing it so that you can learn from another soul group. And then you can take that information and utilize it with your soul group. Sometimes, if you're born into a soul group that isn't yours, you will also encounter other people who are a part of your soul group. and they will sometimes become your best friends or your mate, or, but you have this bond that is familial. And so you know that you are with somebody in your soul group. There are times when you meet someone in your soul group and they are in a phase of development that is different than yours. And sometimes you can help each other, and sometimes you're not able to. Sometimes you each have to go your own separate ways until you develop and then come back together. But soul groups do exist, and they're, um, it's a fascinating topic. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about soul groups. Or can you tell whether or not you've met someone in your soul group, or is your family a part of your soul group? With a friend of mine was telling me once that with her daughter was little, I don't know, maybe 2, 3 years old. And anyway, the mother, who is my friend, was saying she was talking to her daughter and telling her daughter what she needed to do. And the daughter was looking at her and being stubborn and just, not cooperative. And the mother just said to her out of the blue, she said, this time I chose to be the mother and you chose to be the child. So you have to do what I say. You don't get to boss me around. These two are part of the same soul group. Anyway, I hope that helps with soul group information today. All right. The next question comes from Linda, who is in Las Vegas, Nevada. Linda says, my grandfather died just before I was born. Over the past month, he's been appearing in my dreams. He doesn't say anything. He just smiles at me. What do you think about this? Good question, Linda. Thank you for asking it. A lot of times our members, or a lot of times the members of our family and our loved ones, a lot of times they will show up in our dreams. The reason they do that is because, well, we have a problem seeing them when we're not dreaming. So anyway, they show up in our dreams, and sometimes they're there to relay information. Sometimes it's to just say hello and let you know that they're watching over you. It's possible that your grandfather is one of your guides, one of your spirit guides on the other side, and he's just there to say hi. If he wants to give you information, or if there's information that he has for you, he will relay that to you, maybe over time. Maybe he's there as a sign, but you don't know. One of the things that you can do, Linda, is ask him in a dream. If he is at the foot of your bed and you're in bed, sit up in the dream and, ask him questions. Start having a conversation with him. Maybe he wants you to initiate the conversation, but you never know why someone has shown up in your dream unless you ask them. But most of the time, they're there just to check in and say, hello, I'm watching over you. I love you. And it does give you, or gives me, a warm feeling to know that I'm being watched over by the ancestors. Because at this point, he is one of your ancestors. And it's heartwarming to know that he is there for you, even though he crossed over before you were born. That tells you that you're connected. That tells you that he was probably there at your birth too. And he loves you and is watching over you. So I hope that helps, Linda. Please make sure that you reach out to him in your dreams, or even in your waking hours. You can have a conversation with him even without dreaming. It doesn't mean that you're going to hear him give you an answer when you're awake. But I do this. I have conversations with people who have already crossed over, and I ask their advice. I say hello, I say I love you, I'm thinking about you. They hear you. They hear your thoughts. You don't have to say this out loud. You can say it, within yourself. There have been times when I've been driving in my car and I felt that someone was in the car with me and I knew who it was. And I just started talking to them. You can do that too. You don't want to do that out loud when you're driving, though, because you're you never know. Someone might be in the next car looking over at you thinking that you lost your marbles. Anyway, I hope that helps, Linda. Thank you for sending that question in. All right. Well, if you would like a reading with me or you have questions for me that you'd like me to answer here on Ask Coach Marie, please send your query to padmacoach at icloud.com. If you'd like to learn more about me and my services, I will put my website also below. I'll also put the link to my book website there. I wrote a memoir and published it back in 2021, talking about the first part of my life and how I actually work through a lot of the trauma that I experienced. That book, of course, gives you a wealth of information on how you can work through your own trauma. Or at least it's a way to get started with that. So the name of the book is And the Lotus Opened, a memoir. I'll put the link below to the website for that. All right. Well, I look forward to seeing you all here next week. Please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. This really helps with the algorithms, and you also get notified when new videos are posted. So I will see you all next week. Bye bye.